Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen Botham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And in this case, we're diving into employee benefits. We're here to make sure you have all the helpful information. We have our good friend with us, a City Current partner, Will Brown, managing partner of the Benefits Group. How are you doing?
Absolutely wonderful. It's a beautiful day outside. Feeling good. Thank you for having me, Jeremy. I feel great, man.
Absolutely. We love having you come on the show because you can talk about all the trends, but you help us with very realistic and helpful information. And so we're going to have a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and start, though. For those who don't know the Benefits Group, give us a little background on the company, and then we'll start diving into the trends, the tips, and so much more.
Absolutely. I think it's important to know what we do and how we got here. And it started with public accounting for me, went by way of an assistant controller and then into consulting. And I realized this area of consulting was very nebulous, but I saw this area of benefits was a very high impact piece to the bottom line for employers. It was very important to their employees. Heck, it's like 30% of the U.S. economy spent between Medicare and Medicaid. So it was very important. And I saw that there was a need. There was a very low technical aptitude being ascribed to managing these benefits for most smaller employers. So I said, hey, here's a problem to be solved. So we help small to mid-sized businesses offer Fortune 500 benefits, period. And we're good at it.
When you look at some of the big trends going on right now, what has your attention?
Well, the good is that there's more transparency. There are some Consolidation Appropriation Act pieces that from 2021 that took effect this year, transparency in contracts, there's no surprise billing. Without getting into the detail, it just means more information for you and me as the end user, means lower pricing typically. I will say that buried within medical premiums, the primary problem is waste, maybe some fraud, but also we are low information users. So when you go, if you can't get a real price, and also in July of this year, and in September for Texas, Tennessee and Texas are the first two states to pass this, where if you go in and negotiate a price with your provider, and you can pay a cash price that's cheaper, they'll have to apply that to your deductible. And that's a trend that I'm very excited about. And will you allow me to elaborate on that a minute or more too, just to exemplify that for you?
The floor is yours. Yes.
Well, because somebody asked me when I mentioned this in our City Current meeting, they're like, well, doesn't it automatically, if I pay, it goes towards my deductible? Yes. There was a big case, the Johnson & Johnson case, which was it was the first of its kind, and a very huge employer organization, Johnson & Johnson sued the employees of Johnson & Johnson sued because they said the employer had a fiduciary responsibility to negotiate good contracts on their behalf, okay? Because they're funding the premiums, right? Now, this is a large employer, but this transfers to you and me. So what happened was they realized you are not negotiating the contracts in our best interest. Shoot, we can find, a medicine for $600 that you've negotiated for $26,000. And that affects the plan claims, which affects my premiums, right? This is why I should care. And you may again say, well, how does that affect me? Because when the carriers are negotiating contracts for you, you're beholden to those. For example, you used to go in and you'd say, what's the cash price? And then they find out that you have insurance and they're like, oh no, you have to pay this. Well, why? Because they are under contract with the insurance carrier and you have to pay those rates. Well, Tennessee said, look, if you go in and you find an MRI and it's being charged $3,200 with your insurance, and it's 800 at a standalone, you pay the 800 and they have to, it's not considered out of network. They have to apply it to your in-network deductible. And that's huge. You know, people will especially care when they're in their pockets in that deductible part, but they should also care after you get out of that deductible, because really we are buying something. And that's the part that I really try to communicate to business owners, is when you walk in there, you are the consumer. You may not feel like it, but you're being sold something. And if you don't know the pricing, you may think, oh, I paid my insurance. Insurance is going to take care of it. It will, but you're going to pay that increase next year and the year after. And that's the state that we find ourselves in, with increasing premiums, because we were sold that $100 bottle of Motrin 2 years ago. We didn't realize what it cost. And we said, sure, I'll take the Motrin. So those are the trends. The trend is more transparency, more pushback on the responsibility for these contracts to expose that they're not the best interest of us, and also people realizing that they have the ability to shop for their care.
Yeah, and I think that's something that has always stood out for me when you've come on, is knowing your numbers, taking power, taking ownership, which in the end will benefit you and your family. Carry that into then for small businesses, because this is your sweet spot, is like you said, yes, providing the big company, opportunities to the small businesses. And so for the small businesses, what are some of the things that you're seeing as huge opportunities for them, either creatively, entrepreneurially, what are some of the things going on for them to really take advantage of these opportunities?
I think the opportunity for them is to find someone like us. And, yes, I'm biased, but meaning creative. You need a creative broker. And there's not very many of us. I'm in certain groups and broker consortiums where there are people like us that are trying to cause a paradigm shift. Most folks are still stuck in the order taker mode. But I say that to not toot our horn, as to say is that I'm finding that there are carriers out there, or underwriters, that are developing these plans that are very creative. And I'd like to just elaborate on that with a metaphor. It's not the best, and I apologize because it's related to beer, and I'm not even really a drinker, but it's the best way I can explain it, if you'll permit me. So there's 3 types of plans. Typically, structures. There's the fully insured, which is if you go to the store and you buy that 6-pack of beer, it's the same ingredients for everyone. It's prepackaged. You buy it, you're done. The self-insured, those very large organizations, they're the ones that say, you know what, I don't like that prepackaged beer, nor would I buy it. We're going to build our own brewery for our folks, right? So they're large enough to build their own brewery. But for the ones in the middle, we don't want to buy the prepackaged stuff, and we can't afford to buy our own brewery. That's small to mid-sized business. But they want to try different formulas, they want someone else's take on how beer should be. So they go to a microbrewery. And what that microbrewery does is says, hey, we've created our own brewery for you, and we're going to give you our recipe for the best beer. Well, there are people that do that with health plans. There are people that take, and they're not fully insured. They're not the big carriers with the prepackaged, and we're not building, a 30-man group or 10-man group is not big enough to build their own. But what I do is I go out and find someone else's recipe for cost containment. Do they pass through pharmacy rebates, which are a huge savings amount? There's a lot of RX rebates that carriers are keeping, and there's companies that pass those through. There's companies that will audit your medical invoices over $5,000. That's huge, because 95% of medical claims are erroneous. Now, they're not all big, but there's a lot of them that are. And those, nobody's watching the hen house. So if that underwriter is watching the claims or auditing them, they're saving you money, the employer, on your plan. So your question was, what can a small to mid-sized business owner do? They need to find someone who is looking at this as a creative problem to be solved, and they're not putting you in the cookie cutter. Every once in a while, cookie cutter is the only option to some groups because of size, risk, whatever. But you need somebody who's going to go out and find you some different recipes for cost containment for your health plan, period. And they're out there. We go to shows, conferences, events. and we talk to different they're these plan designers. They'll come in as kind of like this general agency, and they'll design the plan, they'll underwrite it, they'll bring in all the ingredients that every plan has, they'll make their own recipe, and then they offer it, and then they'll underwrite the risk, and they'll give you a price. And some of them are good, some of them are not, and that's where we filter. But we have a handful now of good ones that we know they can deliver the goods, and everybody's got a different appetite, different recipes suit different companies. But this should be happening for the small to mid-size, and quite honestly, it does not, because most brokers don't feel it's worth their time, unfortunately.
Carry that into then why it's so important for small businesses to have these opportunities for employees, because I think we are in, a competitive talent situation. When you talk about retention, recruitment, the benefits plan play a very important role in someone choosing where to work. And especially when you talk about a small business being competitive with a larger business with that benefit offering, talk about it from your perspective of why it's so important for these small to mid-sized businesses to have these very competitive plans and opportunities.
Thank you for asking that. Great question. And small to mid-sized business owners, I'm talking to you out there. Listen, you have to act as if. You may be smaller, but you have to act as if you're a large company. Most employees love you for your culture and they want to stay with you. But if your benefit plan consists of coffee and donuts on Friday, it's not going to cut it. So number one, you have to do it because of the demographic. Millennials have shown time and time again that benefits as well as culture and other things that are not just salary-based are very high on their list. So that's competitive number one. Competitive number two, there is an unseen halo effect that happens if you are competing against another organization, and they may even be the same size as you. And like I said, your benefit plan is coffee and donuts, or in the snack, in the break room, you've got a snack machine, and then you're competing against another organization that offers a full suite of benefits. Even if that employee does not partake in those benefits, there is this halo effect that happens that says that company does its business better. They're serious about what they do. So those two things alone. Thirdly, I would say that there's a tax savings, a payroll tax savings, because all these are pre-tax benefits. So if I'm the employer and I offer these things, and my employees are spending out of their paycheck $10,000 a month, let's say, between all, I have 10 employees, they're spending an average of $400. That's $4,000 a month in medical, dental, vision. That's $4,000 a month, or $48,000 a year that is not going through my payroll. And guess what? I don't have to pay matching FICA and FUTA and SUTA on those dollars. So there is an offsetting payroll tax savings for me. And also, fourth and finally, it's the right thing to do, because here's why. If you're my employee, Jeremy, you don't have many options. No, none of us have many options for medical care as we see it, or medical insurance. We either have the exchange, which is healthcare.gov, and that is priced differently. It's more of a high-risk pool, quite frankly. I mean, the same product there is probably 2.5 to 3 times more than on the employer-sponsored plan. So if you don't have me offering it to you, there's not many places you can go. There are individual association plans, but they have the pre-existing conditions. Not everybody can qualify. They exclude pregnancy. They do serve their purpose. But what I'm getting at is that really I'm the only conduit that you have for the healthcare, coverage that you want. And I don't necessarily have to pay for it, but I can at least offer it to you. Under 50 lives, it's not compulsory that I contribute, but that's where we come in. We get it so low and we say, hey, business owner, we're not trying to reach in your pockets, but you can contribute $50 a month towards it, or some fixed amount. But we talk about that more in depth when we're consulting with them.
Talk about technology. Obviously, technology continues to, rapidly evolve, and AI and all these widgets and things like that. And so when you talk about making it easy for the companies, easy for the employees, talk about technology.
Absolutely. Starts with the intake. Most business owners like myself, we get in early or stay late. I don't want somebody calling me on the phone and spending, 30 minutes of my time or somebody who just wants to connect over coffee for no reason, right? We're busy. And so we make it easy on the front end. We have a link on our website. It says, I'm new here. It takes you through the whole process. There's if you did say, hey, I'm interested, or send an email, we send you this link if you don't want to visit the site. And what it does is it allows you to answer the specific questions we need to get you started, including a census template. Give us your folks, upload them, and then we'll do the rest. So you've done that. You shopped us at 10 o'clock. You've checked us out. After we get you enrolled, we do everything by Zoom as far as showing you the quotes. We deliver them to you. Your only goal is to pick the plan you want to offer. So we're doing all the rest. We even give you a template email to send to your people that enrollment's coming up. You can edit it, scrap it, use it. We just know these little subtle nuances that save you time. During open enrollment, we have our team that communicates with your folks using an enrollment platform called Employee Navigator. It's got your logo on it. It's got your contributions in there. People can see how much it's going to cost them. You look like $1 million. You didn't have to pay for this technology, but it's offered to you. And if somebody's like a driver and out and about, our team will call them and take their enrollment over the phone. So, and then after the sale, after we close and post enrollment, you can self-service on our site. Yes, you can always call in. There's a chat button, but you can go to our site and click, I'm a current customer. And if you need something like a card, click, I need a card, I need claims help. This goes right into our project management system. Team picks it up, they send it out to you. So we try to use technology not to remove ourselves from you. We still like that high touch personal service. But we also want to make day-to-day transactional items as efficient as possible using this technology.
Give me one more just fun tip, the first one that kind of pops into your head, and it can be for companies, it can be for employees. But when you talk about this space of employee benefits and, being vigilant, knowing your numbers, doing right by yourself to put yourself in the best position for success, for the lowest rates, what's the first tip that pops into your head on either side?
Oh man, there's so many, but I would just say, take it seriously. Take it seriously, meaning this is a big part. Find somebody who will educate you on what the levers are. When you talked about knowing your numbers, you know the numbers in your business. It's funny how I'll take folks that are very serious about what they do, but then they'll come to you and they'll go, oh yeah, I trust you. That's well and good, but this is a big piece of your offering, and it's important to your folks. So I like when an owner comes to the meeting clear-minded and focused and says, I want to understand what's driving these premiums and what you're telling me, because you need to understand as the business owner, what are the levers, why your renewals may be high, where you can control costs, because there's a lot of options, including kind of self-insuring through a gap program on the back end. I won't go into it, just know that there's a lot of options that can be discussed. And I would just say, small business owner, give it a little the credence it deserves. It doesn't need to take a ton of your time. You don't need to be an expert, but you need to partner with an expert that can explain to you. And you need to be fully present. That's what I would say, because it's important.
Good stuff from Will Brown, managing partner of the Benefits Group. And so carry that into where we go to learn more. So website, social media, where do we go to learn more and plug in with the Benefits Group?
Absolutely. The best place to start has links out to our LinkedIn. We're not on Facebook. Maybe we should be, but we have YouTube videos, YouTube channel, and we have a blog section on our site. I would say the site's the easiest. thebenefits.group. That's THEBENEFITS, plural, .GROUP. There is no .com. .group is the extension. So it's thebenefits.group. We'll see you there. It's got a lot of neat tips, videos. This will be posted on there as well.
Yeah, always a source of good information indeed. So Will Brown, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for your City Current partnership. Everyone make sure to go to the website, thebenefits.group. So Will Brown, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeremy.